All right, welcome everybody. This is a conversation about the level 1 Awesomism Practitioner process. And hopefully each one of you had an opportunity to look at the website and kind of see what the flow of that information is and that kind of thing. Today I'd really like to give you the opportunity to kind of get to know me a little bit, get to know Terri Henderson. Terri is facilitator for level 1 and level 2 actually, and is extraordinary at her job. So it's like she's really I got the pleasure of listening to her level 2 class yesterday a little bit and having conversations with them and getting lots of feedback from her past level 1s, and so you're in really good hands as far as that's concerned. As far as the process is concerned, I just wanted to really briefly kind of tell you what, at least what it is from my point of view. Terri, you can add anything as you want to go along. But I really would like this to be more about you guys asking questions or getting the pieces of the puzzle that maybe you don't have yet just by looking at the website. So the Awesomism Practitioner process, gosh, it's been going on for what, 7 years or so now, and it really was started because of the book Awesomism: A New Way to Understand the Diagnosis of Autism. It very quickly changed from being just about autism to being about all energetically sensitive individuals and making that kind of connection. For me anyway, the experiences that I had in that I wrote about in the book, they were really kind of the precursor of understanding just what energetic sensitivity is all about, how to make those connections within ourselves, how to understand our own sensitivities, and then also, you know, to use those sensitivities as a strength instead of a weakness. So the course really kind of came about naturally and organically. It's, you know, you put out information like that, and then I was quite amazed that there were so many practitioners, there were teachers, therapists, parents, there were all kinds of people doing all kinds of different things with this population. And they really asked for the practitioner process to be started. So it was kind of a natural and organic unfolding from that book to what you see as the Awesomism process now. Hi, Joanne, nice to have you. So, so basically what we have now in the process is that it's kind of like a 3-phase experience. The first phase is really about truly understanding from the energetically sensitive individual's perspective, you know, what's important to them, what matters, where are they, how are they functioning, all of that kind of information. And then the second phase is really about starting to align you with yourself, because your alignment to you is crucial to being able to make connections in the ways that these children are really needing. And so from that second phase, then we go into actually practicing that connection, practicing that telepathic interface with the collective consciousness of the children and also with individual children. We're really blessed within Awesomism. We have a few children, including Riley, who was one of the ones that was initially in the book. We have a few children who have stayed with us for quite some time, and we introduce you to them energetically. They support your process, as does any number of other unseen kind of supports. And then Terri and I are the seen supports and each other. You know, it's like you guys will be supporting each other quite a bit too. So it kind of goes in those 3 phases. Every single time I have this conversation with people, somebody always says, okay, I'm going to be the one person who's not going to be able to telepathically communicate with the kids, or I'm not going to get the kind of information, or I already telepathically communicate And, so what will this bring? And I think that across the board, I think we've done this with, 150 or so people at this point. We haven't had anybody who can't connect. And we also haven't had anybody whose skill set, whatever their level of connection was initially, we haven't had anybody whose skill set hasn't evolved to another level of consciousness. So anyway, so that's really, I just want to give you the basics, but I really want to hear what your questions are, what your thoughts are, and then Terri and I will answer anything you might have questions about. So does anybody have anything?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Lucy.
What you're talking about connecting to self, and that process I'm working on myself since 6 months.
Yeah.
So moving the ladders of the dimensions and things like that. But I'm not at the point where I have that strong connection with my daughter.
Yeah. And
when I watch one of the on Gaia, the documentary on Gaia with you and the interviewer.
Yeah.
So then I went on your website, I started to read, and I said, okay, that's different. I'm pretty sure the process, what you're doing, a lot of the things probably I'm applying right now.
Yeah.
But my daughter, which is not, I never did the test to see if she has autism or not. We just did a urine test.
Yeah.
And we're working on cleaning your system because she has fungus and bacteria and things like that. But in the test, it was a little thing was shown that maybe a startup of might have. And then we could dig further to see if she has it or not later on after cleansing her body.
Right.
I don't know if I'm going to go there.
Yeah.
Just want her to be healthy.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
But from there, she's the type of kid where she doesn't trust, she pushes the barriers, everything you talk about, she does.
Yeah.
But not.
Oh, we lost you.
We lost your audio.
We lost your audio. There you go. Now you're back.
The computer. She's. If I compare to other kids on videos and things like that, it would be mild if she has it. Okay.
Right.
But she still have the gift that you see that sometimes she'll place comment to me like, this is not coming from her. Like it's too deep.
Yeah.
Or she'll tell me what I say, what I do is not right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she feels she's not part of, or you don't understand that, all that stuff that you talked about.
Yeah.
I said, okay, I've got that a few years ago. She was 2, I realized that. Now she's 7.5. But I'm always looking at ways to be able to connect with her and understand where she, I know we're all from, like myself is from Earth, right?
Yeah.
Mother Earth. But now that I understand all of this, I'm getting there. I don't know how to explain it to her that I understand because she doesn't remember at this moment.
Right.
She's not connected like the other kids you talk about.
Right.
And she's connected, but she doesn't remember.
Right. And so one of the things that happens in the Awesomism process that might be helpful is what you're talking about is trying to make a cognitive connection between yourself and her so that she understands that you now understand, right, at a cognitive level.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about this population is they rarely base whether you understand something on a cognitive from a cognitive perspective.
Okay, I get that.
And so they also understand a lot of information that you, a lot of awareness that you hold. They do understand it regardless of whether regardless of whether you're verbally communicating with them or regardless of whether they're telling you they understand. Or they can tell you they understand. Does that make sense? So one of the things that you'll learn to do within the Awesomism process, because you're learning to connect with yourself in the dimensions and realms where the children actually hang out.
Yeah.
That's where that's where you're going to communicate what you know to her. That's where she's going to go, oh, okay, she's got it. Now I don't have to worry about that anymore. Now I don't have to go try to find her. But to have a cognitive idea or understand it from that level is very different than understanding it from the same dimensional level that she understands it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So when we talk about making an energetic connection to yourself, we're talking about opening up those pathways in the higher realms of yourself, because in one of those pathways, you're going to meet her, right? You're going to meet her where she lives. And that's where you guys are going to communicate. That's where the conversation is going to take place. And then as the conversation takes place there, what ends up happening is you see the manifestation of that in the physical world, right? Yeah. So
it's already starting to change.
Yeah.
You know, she's closer, she hugs more, accept more kisses, that kind of stuff, right? But there's a level of non-trust that is there that
right.
You know? Well, and that's why what you said, when you align yourself first with yourself, then it opens up.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I've been working on for the last.
Right. And so many, it's a little bit tricky, actually, Lucy, on one level, because we all are, you know, we are all grounded in a body. We are all functioning in whatever way we function. And so, and a lot of times, if you're a parent or a professional working with these kids, you have a tendency to kind of go, okay, I want to make that connection. And that's great, but we say that from the perspective of being somebody who's grounded and present in our bodies. But that's not where these kids want us to make that connection, right? So we start opening up. And what also has a tendency to happen through level 1 and level 2 is that as we start opening up all those different levels, other aspects of ourselves start to become much more predominant. So it's almost like we start seeing ourselves as much more than just human. And we can cognitively say, oh, I'm more than just a human body, I'm more than just the flesh. That's one thing. That's one understanding. But then there's this whole other layer that gets opened up, that where you kind of go, no, I actually am, you know, maybe I am galactic, maybe I am angelic, maybe I am avatar, maybe I am, and that becomes your perspective or your vantage point. That's how you go through living your life. And from that moment, all kinds of interesting things can happen, because, you know, your child's already there, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Terri, do you want to add anything to that? Am I hitting it?
Yeah, I think so. It's just, that's probably one of the places that is hardest to have the patience, right? Is when you want to have that open, trusting relationship with your child. But it sounds like there's a lot of movement there. So I'm happy for you in that. Yeah.
I think the other piece of the trust part too is that, you know, we're learning to trust the children and trust where they are and trust that they know something from where they are, and they're learning to trust us. You know, because we have a very different vantage point, being more connected to our bodies. So
it's not easy every day, right? Because, like, let's say she does something that she could fall, you know.
Yeah.
You kind of know that she won't fall until you bring a fear into her that she might fall.
Right.
So it's always to change the process, how we think. And you have also your husband there and the other children in the house. Like, it's quite a dynamic when you start to say, no, just trust her in what she does. She has no fear in what she's doing.
Right.
She has no fear. So what? But it's every day it's something to try to. That's why she probably says, you don't trust me.
Yeah.
You know, because we try as parents to stop the kid to do something that they're fine with.
Yes. Right.
You know, we were on an edge of a beautiful mountain view on the ocean, okay, here in Vancouver. And we did a hike, and she's just on the edge of the reef, okay? She's just right there. And her dad, whoa, you know, I said, stop. She has no fear. She's just like this looking. She's fine. But you have fear, she may drift, she may fall, you know, like it's difficult to get that point.
Right, it is. And a lot of times, like you say, we respond to that from the perspective of somebody who's in a body.
Yeah.
Somebody who's going to get, and there is a place for giving instruction so that somebody who's not completely connected to their body doesn't, you know, step off the side of a mountain. You know, there's that piece too. But Terri and I did a video not too long ago that's probably on YouTube that you guys can find with a woman named Suzy, and she was trying to get her son to take a walk with her. They live in this beautiful part of the United States. She wanted to go on this walk. He didn't want to do anything but go on the swing, you know, and so, you know, so again, it's like we have to start getting really creative, and we have to start speaking to the children where they actually function. And a lot of these kids they pay attention to the emotional body first and foremost, and they also pay attention to visualization or a visual experience.
Picture sending.
Right. Sending those telepathic messages. Telepathic messages are almost always imagery, right, Terri? Not necessarily words, although some people get it that way. And what was interesting is that all Suzy did is she just imagined and visualized taking a walk with her son. And the moment she did, he got off the swing and decided he wanted to take a walk exactly where she wanted to go. And he was very, you know, kind of letting her know that, yeah, I got the message. But, you know, so same thing, you know, with your child on the side of the mountain, you know, it's like if you're right. If you're yelling and, if somebody gets really anxious, then that emotional energy scares them, right?
Then it can fall.
Then they can fall, right? But where that emotional energy is kind of like, nope, okay, and you're just almost imagining yourself, you know, the child stepping away. More often than not, the child will step away because they're paying attention to where you're connected. So anyway, but these are all experiences that you can bring to the Awesomism process, talk through with Terri, talk through with the other practitioners, because each experience is, you know, a great opportunity to see it from a different perspective and work it from a different perspective. So anyway, anybody else have any questions or comments? Again, if you're called in, I can see you via, or you can use the chat room at the bottom and ask questions that way too. So, anybody have anything else? Okay, I'm assuming you guys are just listening then. The process, Terri, you want to tell people when you're starting and times and that kind of fun stuff?
Sure. Level 1 will begin on February the 6th. And if you may have noticed on the website that the times are 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Pacific. We put those times on the website because those generally work for, you know, say we have one practitioner that's in the United States and another practitioner that's in India, two completely different time zones. And so 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. generally work for both time zones. That being said, we can always make small adjustments for the group. Always happy to do that. And so, but yeah, so we'll begin right out of the gate on the 6th. We'll do things like introduce ourselves to each other and become familiar with one another, and we'll move right into some discussion about what we call the geometry of love, and also called the technology of love, just really kind of starting to get grounded in and building some coherence in the physical, mental, and emotional. And then we're going to just really kind of move right straight forward from there. One of the things, as Suzy was saying, there's plenty of time left. There's plenty of time available in all of the calls for discussion, and that's really what enriches these classes. You know, for me to come in and, you know, just to talk for an hour, I'll bring you, you know, just the most interesting things that that I have available to me, but it's always going to be a better experience if you bring your piece too, and we have those two-way discussions, and we can make it much more personal for the group as well. So yeah.
It's a neat group too, because there's there's pretty much like 3 different groups of people that come to this process. Parents, definitely, professionals, you know, and by professional, I mean anybody working with the child or these children in any capacity. And then there's also a 3rd group that comes that kind of understands these kids or has a draw to this population because they understand them as more than we might perceive them as, but they don't necessarily work with them day to day. They might work with them more in the energetics. And what's nice is that when you put all 3 of those populations together in one call, that in and of itself gives you all kinds of different perspectives, because the parent needs to understand it from from the energy worker's point of view, and the professional from the parent's point of view. So it's that makes for really lively conversation, actually, I think. So yeah. Anyway, anybody else have any questions or comments?
Well, one of the things that I want to make sure is, I kind of have the answer already.
Okay.
My daughter is short temper and gets frustrated easily.
Yeah.
So by me learning, being in the space where we can connect, okay, at that level, that will help between me and her. But how about school?
Yeah.
And teachers and friends, where, you know, she lost it with a friend last weekend, right? So it's kind of, and sometimes you wonder why, you know, like what really happened, because it doesn't make sense all the time, but for her it makes sense, you know what I mean?
Right.
So this is where I found that difficult, because I'll be able to make that connection.
Yes.
But there's no way. How do we help those kids when they're out of our environment?
Yeah. Terri, do you want to address it, or do you want me to go and then you address it?
Well, you know, I think at least where I would start is that we have a lot of sharing from the parents and also from the caregivers, specifically teachers, that, you know, demonstrates very clearly that there's a clear connection between what's happening with that child at school, whether it's on the playground, in the classroom, whatever, and what's happening with the family unit. In other words, that connection is always pretty open and pretty clear. And so if she's looking to you for a piece of what helps her to be here and what helps her to be here, you know, just in the calmer, not going quickly into the anger state, then any piece of that, as you build your coherence in that, like you're talking about you're doing now, as you continue to do that, that should affect her everywhere she goes. We're just finding that those connections are so very broad and so very deep. And these kids are also very, very good at telling us, this is what I need from you when this happens, or this is what I need from you to kind of help me keep pace with things so that it doesn't happen. But when it happens, this is what I need from you to help. And when we just kind of go through normal life to keep those things, keep me more on an even keel, these things will be beneficial. So, but that piece of it, You know, Suzy, you know, your experience goes back many, many, many years. Mine goes back many. And so I would say, you know, each of these kids are unique. I haven't necessarily found solid common themes and threads. And it's because just like us, they each have their own mastery. They each have their own place and space, you know, of this human experience that they're coming from and that they understand and they know. And so, yeah.
Yeah, and I also, as I think that's where the telepathic communication again, or the opening up to different aspects of yourself really comes in handy, because again, you want to be able to communicate with them where they can actually tell you what they need. And, you know, more often than not, you know, the parent especially is going to end up being an advocate, you know, within the schools or within other situations with friends. And, you know, these are different things that will work. But yeah, I think that's what Terri said is right on it. That capacity to actually have that conversation and communicate with them and then follow through on what they're asking of you. You know, one, it builds your confidence in those other worlds, and two, it helps them in this world, right? So there was also, hi Joanne, I saw your message. Good morning to you too.
Yeah, good morning.
So Joanne was asking, how have others put into practice what they've learned being a practitioner? Have they set up clinics or just applied it within their families? Actually, a little bit of everything, Joanne. I mean, there are definitely people within the practitioner process who set up websites and invited other people to benefit from the skill sets that they have, you know, as far as that telepathic kind of communication. Some of the people who are already working in some kind of professional setting have started applying this in that professional setting, and slowly but surely really kind of integrating this kind of awareness into those settings as well. So we have people who have been in standard settings also, who as they've learned a little bit more and practiced a little bit more and gotten themselves out there, have transitioned from working in, you know, educational settings or things like that to doing much more of this kind of work, telepathic communication and those kinds of things. So, yeah. So I hope that answers your question, Joanne.
There's a link on the website that goes to Awesomism Experiences, is it, Suzy? With the different stories about the different practitioners. Right,
yeah, and kind of some of the things that they're doing. So yeah, you guys can find that. Yeah, there's also a map, practitioner map, so that people can at least see where different people are once you've completed the process. And we're assuming, you know, although I think a good majority of people do kind of continue through the Awesomism process, you know, in level 1 and level 2, because each one is a little bit different than the one before and opens you up a little bit more. But we are also assuming that after you're done with level 1, you know, you could go and have a conversation with somebody about this and really, yeah, put yourself out there in that way if you were so inclined. So anyway, I have another one from Sonia. Okay, so Sonia just says that she's just listening. She said, it's very interesting. I'm 39 years old and I'm diagnosed with autism at the age of 36. I have no children, but a nephew on the spectrum. They told me autistics have a lack of social intuition and so on. Well, like that. Well, sometimes I have problems with social interaction, but I do not agree with having no intuition. That's so true. Mm-hmm. Awesomism is a new world for me. Greetings from Switzerland. Awesome. So yeah, you're so right, Sonia. It's a matter of fact, I have found quite the opposite. You know, you have so many times where especially when I was a speech language pathologist, people would say, you know, well, we have to teach autistic individuals about emotion or about empathy or about using their intuition and those kinds of things. And I actually found that the furthest thing from the truth. It's what I found was that they were almost hyper aware, hypersensitive about the emotional energy, and their intuition came, the way they used their intuition, and you correct me if this is not your experience, but most of the kids that I worked with, it's like they had this amazing intuitive awareness, but they were basing that intuitive awareness on where somebody else's emotional body was. And so I actually don't have that diagnosis, but I do this all the time with the level of sensitivity that I have. It's almost like I will intuit something, and I had to learn that I was intuiting it based on somebody else's emotional patterning, based on what I would call like a clear, coherent intuition. And what I also noticed is that the more that the more I could give feedback to children or whoever I was working with, and they might intuit something, they would say something to me. My clients do this all the time right now. And I really encourage them to say, you know, Suzy, I'm feeling like this. You know, I'm feeling like that you feel like this. The moment they actually intuit that and say something to somebody, and the person actually gives them honest feedback, you're right, I'm not having a good day. You're right, I'm a little edgy today. It's so healthy for somebody who is intuiting on an emotional level all the time. Because what most people do, most humans have been trained to put their emotional body somewhere in the past, somewhere behind them, just like don't actually say what is, right? But that's one of the first things that we all have to learn as human beings working with energetically sensitive individuals, is to be in touch with that emotional body and to actually feel willing to articulate what's going on there. There's no bad emotion, right? It's just emotion. But it's so healthy for somebody who's energetically sensitive. I mean, I know in my own childhood, I went through that over and over again. It's like, you know how somebody feels and you say it and they go, oh, no, that's not it. They pretty much say you intuited all wrong. Well, no, you didn't. You intuited at a depth that they may not have even been aware of themselves. So I completely agree with you, Sonia, as far as your intuition is spot on. It's right on. I'll guarantee it. And it's just whether or not somebody is willing to validate the experience that you're having of them. That's what's a little bit more iffy. So there's somebody else. Is it? I'm not getting the name. Thank you, Sonia. So this one, good evening to all of you. I am first time for this kind of communication, so it's interesting to get different experiences and information from you. Thank you. I am Elnera, is that right? From Buku. Wow, that's awesome. I don't know if we've talked to her before. No, have we talked to you before? Because we talked to somebody from there before. I had a personal consultation with you, Suzy. I don't know if you remember or not. I'm working with children with speech delays with autism, so it's important to understand and learn how to realize the real connection with the children who are at a different energetic level and have different vibrations. Yeah, and I think the other piece here too is like, you know, all of you who are interested in this level of conversation and communicating with the kids in this way, you know, you are that as well. You know, it's like you don't come to this process or you don't have an interest in this for no reason. I mean, one one of the sneaky things, I guess, in the big cosmos of the collective consciousness of the children is Terri and I have really no way of knowing, you know, how to get people to this process, right? We don't know how to do that. We can put information out and see what resonates for people. But when we very first started this process, I just literally said to the kids, I'll create the process, but you got to find the people. You got to put the little idea in their head that this is somewhere that they should come, or that this is a good place to start that communication. So from that standpoint, consider yourselves all already spoken to because we're having this conversation in the first place.
This is awesome when you think about it, though.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing too. I've had so many kids over the years say to me, well, my mother thinks that this was her idea, or my teacher thinks this was her idea, but it's not. I've been implanting telepathic, you know, information, you know, since I got here. I know exactly what I need. I'm giving them that information, and then they're going, oh, I think I'll, you know, it's exactly what Riley did to me. Come to me in dreams, give me little tidbits of information. All I had to do is show up and do what he asked me to do, and it worked pretty well. So, thank you. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Anything else they'd like to? Excuse me? Oh, thank you. Yes, I can hear you now. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, she was just saying it's important to be engaged in the process that is started here, the Awesomism process. So it's a very unique process. I will say that. I haven't seen it anywhere else yet, and I think just by virtue of the fact that, you know, Terri and I have done our own work, you know, in our own multidimensional realms. Terri's also a core practitioner, so she went through levels 1, 2, 3, and core. And so her integrity around her own coherence and her ability to access this information the way she does, she did this for herself first and foremost. I did it for myself first and foremost. It's kind of your own spiritual journey, your own spiritual evolution, and it happens to have a really beautiful byproduct of giving you access to information from the collective consciousness of the children. And it's a body of information that is mind-boggling. I mean, it is mind-boggling. So, yeah. So anyway, Terri, do you have anything else that you would like to share before we say goodbye today?
It's so nice to have so many people on this call and to have the conversation. I guess if a question comes to you after this, you have choices. We have another call that is at 5 o'clock Pacific this evening, same format. And then you're also welcome to send Suzy and I emails. We're always happy to converse with you that way as well. So
yeah.
Have any questions?
Yeah, and you can get us at Terri's is TERRI at SuzyMiller.com, and of course I'm Suzy at SuzyMiller.com, so you can find us pretty easily. Yeah, and don't hesitate. I think more important, we say, the matter of fact, we just said this at the end of level 1 and level 2 that were just completed this week, is it's really most important that you do get your questions answered and that this feel like a fit for you. We would rather spend time with you on the beginning end of this and really have it feel like, yeah, this is home, this is where I'm meant to be, kind of thing. So don't hesitate to ask questions, and can support you in that way. So anyway, anything else from anybody?
Not now.
Okay, all right, thank you, thank you. So we'll start the beginning of February. When registration deadline is when, Terry? Is that like the 30th or something?
It's 1 week prior to that. That's a good question.
I want to say it's the 30th of January.
It is Monday the 30th.
Yeah. And once you do register, we have a member site that has all kinds of information on it. It has articles, it has different documents that you will, that will kind of help you move through the course. It has different audios, chakra clearing meditations and things like that. And to answer your question about how long the course is, it's what? 15 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All the information is recorded. We are assuming that you are going to not make 15 consecutive weeks. You know, it's like if you work with energetically sensitive kids, or if you have one, the likelihood is that you're not going to make all those calls. So all of those calls are recorded. The recording is put up on the member site usually within about 12 hours. So you definitely have plenty of time to review it before you ever get on the call the following week. So,
and you also have the opportunity to listen to the second call. So if you're in the AM session, you can listen to the PM call and vice versa. While the information is the same, as Suzy mentioned when we started, each cycle, that's the word I was looking for. Each cycle is very unique just based on who's there, and not even, who's there. It's like there's a coherence between the morning and the evening calls, but then there's an even stronger coherence within each one of those individual calls. Yeah. And so, it's always nice to have even that second call, because you just get that much more broader information. So. Yeah.
It's amazing just what a different group of people too. It's like the questions can be completely different. Things you didn't even think about asking in the AM, or people didn't think about asking in the AM, they ask in the PM. So yeah, lots of cool information. Thanks. Anything else from anybody?
So are you located in US? So this is in US dollars, the fee that should I see on the website?
It is, yeah, it's priced in US dollars, and they will do the transition, not transition, what am I saying?
Conversion,
right? They'll do that on the website. So if you're paying, from Canadian dollars,
there's 35% difference at this moment. So is it going to be 35% lower, or is it going to be 35% more? Like our dollar right now is 67 cents.
Our dollar is 67 cents to your dollar. Is that what you're saying?
My dollar is 60. Your dollar is, my cost would be 1.35.
Yep. So it'll be
the cost.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It'll be that much more. Yeah.
We need more of you in Canada.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and there are definitely different payment plans and things like that. So, and the other thing too is, there's definitely different ways through PayPal to work that out. So,
okay.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you guys for chatting with us this morning. It was a lot of fun. Great conversations and questions and all that fun stuff. So anyway, Terry, anything else?
That's it. Just looking forward to getting started in the next cycle. So hope to see you there.
All right. Sounds great, guys. Just email us if you need anything else. We're around. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
There you go. And Terry, will you hit the record?